People have been asking for me to make a video like this for a while now, and honestly, I figured it was pretty easy to make, and since I'm under a bit of a time crunch this week, I thought I'd go and try and do a simple project such as this one. Yes, seriously, simple. Explaining how to do this is easy. Actually doing it is the hard part. But why don't we just dive straight into it? First off, we need to actually open the game. It doesn't matter whether you're playing on a new save or on one that you've already played on a little bit, but for the purposes of this example, I'm going to start on a new save, just for simplicity's sake. While we wait for the game to load, let's pull up some external tools. There are two that I recommend, but only one you really need to do this. I love how the game is already loaded in. So, first of all, we have Railroad Studio. It's a browser-based save editor. It's just railroad.studio. It's really simple. This is how we will move the industries, and this is the mandatory one. You don't have to download anything for it. The other one I recommend, though, is Railroads Online Extended, which you do have to download in order to run. But the reason I recommend it is because it gives you access to teleportation without having to use telegraph houses. All you need to do is hit this attach button, and presto, you're going to get a little world map over here where if you right click, you can teleport anywhere you want. You might have to set your username in Extended, but this is going to make the process much faster. All we're going to be doing today in this example is moving the oil field from where it currently is on the left-hand side of the map over to the right-hand side of the map down in that little valley area below the coal mine. Now, let's go ahead and use the map feature over on Railroads Online Extended to teleport ourselves around. Once we've teleported to each and every destination, we're going to add in telegraph offices. Now, I'm adding one here because we're going to remove the oil field later on in this video. But there's a reason that we're adding the telegraph office here, other than, because, we could just use Extended still, right? Well, kind of. While we could continue using Extended to teleport, having the in-game method is slightly faster, because all you have to do is press M and then click on the map. And more importantly, Extended sometimes fails when you reload a save, and you need to restart the game entirely to get it Extended to work again. We're going to be reloading the save a lot in order to get everything right. So, having these telegraph offices here, either as a backup or as a primary method of transportation, is very nice. Now we're going to go ahead and teleport to our other location. This is approximately where we're going to put the oil field. And now that we're here, we're going to place an engine shed. Now, any player building in this list should work, and most people I know like using the firewood depot, but there's a reason I don't like using firewood depots, and that's because when you turn the firewood depot into another type of industry, it keeps these outputs of firewood. So if you change this to a smelter, it keeps 100 rails, 100 raw iron. And that's kind of messy. So I usually just go for engine sheds, because they don't have an output to mess things up, but also, you can select multiple colors, making it easier to distinguish them in Railroad Studio. Now, Studio only lets you modify industries in a list form, which can be at quite the headache to read when you've got a bunch of the same type of player-built building in a row. So having these multiple colors, or also multiple different building types to distinguish the spots you want to place your industries at, is pretty important if you're trying to place multiple all in one go. Now, for this example, we're only going to be placing the one industry, so this is fine. Now, once we have our spot selected on the map, we're going to go ahead and save the game. Now, you might notice here that I am currently playing on the public branch instead of the beta branch. This is because the public branch saves are compatible with the beta branch, but the beta branch saves are not backwards compatible with the public. So if you're trying to build a map for a larger audience, say publish it publicly, it's pretty important that you go out of your way to make it more accessible by doing this. However, if you're just making the map for personal use, it really doesn't matter. You can stay on the beta if you want. We're now going to go over to Railroad Studio. Select this little line of text here, %local app data, %/arr saved, save games, and copy it. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to select browse, and at the top here we're going to paste that in. Now I've already gone to this folder before, and Railroad Studio remembers that. So I don't need to do that right now. It should show you something that looks like this, although if you're on the beta branch, you might see all the rest of your saves rather than just slots. But select whatever save you want and open it. And you'll see something that looks a little bit like this. Now we want to navigate up to the upper left-hand corner here, to the Industries tab. Once we're there, near the bottom, you should see your industry or your building that you placed. And what we want to do here is, as you might have just noticed a second ago, is we just want to click on it. Now we want to click this little drop down menu and we want to select the industry type we want this to change to, which is an oil field. Select that, hit the green download arrow, and bam, we're done. Kind of. Now we want to remove the old oil field that we had earlier, so let's go ahead and let's change that to a water tower, just something arbitrary that we can delete as a player in the game. And we're going to hit the green download arrow again, and bam, we're done. However, for this example, I'm not actually going to keep this as a water tower because I'm not going to delete it in this video. Instead, I'm going to change it to a coal mine, and this will demonstrate something in a little bit, but for your intents and purposes, change it to a building type that you can actually physically delete in-game. Once everything is set here, we then want actually to go over here to the rotation and click on that. This will open up roll, yaw, and pitch. And the reason I suggest modifying that now, roll and pitch should always be 0, but yaw, we can set this to a much nicer number, one that doesn't have this massive decimal after it. So let's just go ahead and set that to -70. And this way, when you go back and you start building tracks, it is going to be much easier to build at that industry. Now, we're going to go to the top of the screen, and we're going to hit this yellow download arrow. That'll download the file. You can see I've done this a couple of times today. And it'll be like your username, slot8, modified.sav. Go ahead, go into downloads, and let's go ahead and rename that file just to whatever you want it to be in-game. In this case, we just need it to be slot8. And now we're going to hit WinR. And I hope you still have that string from earlier copied down. If you don't, you can always open Railroad Studio in another tab real quick, and it'll instantly give you a blank slate to copy it from. And you're going to open the Run menu here, and you got to paste that same string in and hit OK. This will bring up the folder over here, and now we want to go to our downloads, and we're just going to drag and drop the save that we just downloaded straight into our save game folder. If you're replacing a file that already exists, that's okay, don't worry about it. Now, all we need to do to see the changes we've made is go back to the main menu and reload the server. And would you look at that? We didn't move, and you can already hear the oil field noises. We're down here in the lower right, and presto, it's in place. But there's one small problem here, and that's that these trees are all over the place. And if we go back to the other oil field, or at least the coal mine that used to be an oil field, you'll notice that there's no trees for miles around. And you might also notice that the coal mine is in the ground. We have two things we need to fix. One, we need to get this coal mine out of the ground, and two, over here at the oil field, we need to get these trees out of here. And we could go around and chop these down one by one, but honestly, I think that would be annoying. So let's go back to Railroad Studio and let's make a couple of edits real quick. So we're going to reload the page, and we're going to open the save again. This is going to update the map and recognize that, as you can see here, there's the background outline for an oil field, but there's actually a coal mine with these pink platforms and this little building over here. And if we go all the way out, you can see the oil fields over here. It's also floating in the water. We'll worry about that later. So then, what we need to do is we need to go up to here and select Tree Brush. Now, if you hover over it for a second, you can see it says left mouse button plants trees, right mouse button cuts them, and the scroll wheel changes the brush size. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this the biggest size we can, and we're going to right-click to cut all the trees here. And you should see that in a circle around the industry itself, no trees get cut. It just shows white. That's normal, actually. The base game has a certain radius around every industry where trees are cut by default, and Studio doesn't display the cut trees within that range because they're supposed to be cut by default. So, for good measure, let's just do it again. Let's just right-click and cover this entire area, and now if we left-click and replant all these trees, this center area should be fine. The trees there should be okay. If we go over here, you can actually see that ring of trees for a second. Let's replant those. Now, for that coal mine over here, what we want to do is we want to go into the Industries tab. We want to find that coal mine, which I believe was this coal mine right here. And we're going to select its location, its vector. And if you know vectors, you know the basics. Y is up and down, and X is left and right. And Z is, like, actually physically up and down. I guess this is more like Y is top to bottom in this case, but there's something a little bit strange about Railroads Online. And that's that the X-axis is inverted. Positive X doesn't go to the right, it goes to the left for some reason. I don't know why this is. Everything else is normal. Well, positive Y goes up and negative goes down, and Z actually controls the height of these things. But for some reason, the X-axis is inverted. But we want to edit the Z-axis right now. We're not worrying about moving these numbers around to try and make everything look pretty in this example. If you do want to make your industries look good, you do kind of have to do this, and it's a little bit of a pain. But you really only have to do that if you're worrying about an industry looking perfect or putting it into a really tight space. You know, so I wouldn't worry about that. Instead, let's go over here to the Z-axis, which is basically 10,000, and let's add 500 units onto it. Let's go ahead and permanently set that, re-download the save, and go through all the steps. Now we rename, drag and drop, leave session, play, host, scroll down to the save that we chose, and now you can see this oil field has no trees anywhere. And it is, again, slightly floating over the river, so my placement wasn't perfect, and if I wanted to adjust this, I would have to use the X and Y axes. Axes? Is that the word? I would have to use X and Y to move it around, but it works. It's functional. This oil field right here, if you wanted to start running to it right now for some reason, you could do it. And if we go over to that coal mine and see how modifying its seed did things, now you can see it's slightly floating. And this is the part of map making that is tedious. When you move one thing, you almost always get it slightly wrong, and you have to make minor adjustments bit by bit to make everything look perfect and make it look like it's not floating off the ground like this. Because it looks kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. Looks very weird. But, that's really about all you need to know to make your own custom map, honestly. If you want to cheat in money, Studio has a Players tab where you can just change your money to whatever funny number you want it to be changed to, and you can also change your XP if you want. In Railroads Online Extended, you can go into the player list over here, and usually there would be a player, but Extended is currently bugging out because I reloaded the save. So I have to detach, reattach, player list, select that, and if we go over here, it's at 67,000. If we add that to our money total, presto, I now have 69,000. So if you're looking to buy something like a Montezuma, a Eureka, a Glenbrook, something to like speed up the start of the game so you're not stuck with a measly porter from the very beginning, you can do that. So, yeah, that's about really all I have to tell you today. So I hope this helped you. Good luck and Godspeed with your custom map making. It is a tedious process. If you enjoyed, like the video, subscribe, boost my ego. I stream on Sundays. I stream this game, and I usually stream custom maps that I made. That's about all I've got to tell you today, so, see you around. Cheers, folks.